people know that 99% suck?
That you are saying exactly what you're right on target. Let me tell you, because that's the problem is people have this, all these apps, all these people. So there should be so many more things. Well, think about just real life. Let's say we were walking around the mall or at Disneyland or anywhere. We'd be lucky if there were one or two.
One out of 100. 99% suck. Now, how do you teach people or show them how to have fun with dating?
Be open-minded to who you might meet and what it could be. Nothing's a waste of time because even like bad dates or the dates that, they're not your type, you can still learn something.
Yes.
You can learn a million things, but you even can learn something more about what you want.
Hi, everybody. This is Dan Indante. Welcome to another episode of Middle Age Mess, the show for people who are checking the obituaries every day, just to make sure they're not in them. Okay, so today we're talking, my favorite subject, we're talking dating. And I'm super excited with Kelly Bonanno. Hi, Kelly.
Hello, how are you?
So look, I'm not just like throwing this out because you're here. I love talking about dating. I think it's the greatest. And let me tell you why I love talking about dating. Because I love dating. I love online dating. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. I simply cannot understand why the entire world has decided that they hate dating, especially online. I don't understand it. And so when one of you come on who understands the program a little bit, you can explain it to me and educate me a little bit. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. Am I weird?
You're not weird, but you are minority, especially in today's world.
Right? What I really want to know is how you got into this whole world, how you became a dating guru. Tell me a little bit about your background, like where you grew up, what your stuff you were doing, and I'm going to pick holes in it as you talk.
Wow. So I grew up in Southern California, the Los Angeles area.
Oh, wait, where'd you go? Hold on. Where'd you go to high school?
Oh, University High, Uni High.
Oh, I went to Uni High too.
Yep.
Okay, so from Uni High, my alma mater, very exciting. Did you go to college after that?
Yes. So I actually got sick of LA and went to Kent State University.
Kent State,
I came back here and went to Cal State Northridge.
By the way, Kent State is no longer Kent State, as you know.
Yeah, the reason I ended up there is because I have family in Ohio. And
got it.
It was like,
No, but they changed the name of Kent State to Kent to make it sound better.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Whatever.
It's a full on, I kind of appreciate it. It was like a marketing ruse to make their school feel more prestigious. Not that it's a good school, but Kent does sound better than Kent State, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. I know. And there's so many state schools that are really great and very hard to get into.
For sure. Well, hold on. Let me just ask you a question. This is actually something else I love LA. And I've always loved LA my whole life. And you said you got tired of LA and wanted to get, which I think is the more popular opinion. People who grow up in LA generally want to leave.
I always come back.
Don't we? Don't we always come back? I live in Vegas now, but I still keep a place in Los Angeles because I just love it so much.
I mean, I do too. I love it too. And it's home. It's just, it's home. And I do love it. So I've left and come back a couple times, but I've always come back. Yeah.
Why did you leave the first time? What was it about LA when you were growing up that you said, I don't want to be here anymore? What was the thing that you didn't like specifically?
I was just really spontaneous. It was like a really spontaneous decision. I was just like, you know what? I think I want to go away to college instead of, and so I didn't even just think about it. I was just like, let's try it.
Yeah, fuck it. Ohio, might as well. Let's do it.
Well, I had family there, so it was not that left field, but anyway.
Got it. Okay, so then you got sucked back in to LA proper.
Yeah, I got sucked back in, and so I had a bunch of jobs, and I was a waitress at TGI Fridays.
Right on. You probably served me. The one in Westwood by any chance?
No, the one in Marina Del Rey.
100% you served me at some point, Kelly. I hate to tell you.
But I always worked another job because I wanted to get into network television. And so I always was working other jobs to for my resume. And then
does every kid who grew up in LA want to get into the entertainment world? I mean, is it every one of us, or are there?
I want to get news.
Okay.
I want to be, an anchor woman.
Because I think it is too bad of LA is that when you grew up here, everything's kind of attainable, right? It's like, it doesn't seem weird that people kids who are in sitcoms, you have parents who are cameramen or directors, it all seems very, it's like something you can do. Whereas I think
that's true,
right?
Because people come here to the promised land. I want to do that. I better go to LA. So
right.
there's opportunities here.
But I think if you grew up in Ohio, or someplace else, or Iowa, or whatever, like getting on the news doesn't seem like it's even possible. But yet you grow up here where you
Unless you
grew up,
leave.
right? I mean, and I'm sure like half of your neighbors, were working behind the camera or something like that. And it just seemed like, it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my best friend's dad was on a sitcom, a star in a sitcom.
Right,
And
right.
yeah.
Exactly. All right. So the news thing didn't work out, I'm guessing, at some point.
It didn't. So then I ended up another little like, oh, let's get out of LA. And I worked in New York City. It was a
Nice.
short, I leave short and then I come back.
Right.
But I worked for a commercial editing firm and I made some good connections there and actually had a blast. So one of the connections put me in touch with someone at CBS here in LA.
Okay.
I moved back here, got in touch with him. And this is like a lesson on tenacity too, because the interview went very well. But then he said, we're going to hire in-house, but I like you, keep in touch. And I did for a good year. And
Nice.
he's like, I'm glad you're keeping in touch. And then there was an opening and I got hired. And yeah, I was there for almost 10 years and worked my way up. And by the time I left, I was running a division of my department. It was like a small division of honor promotions. And I loved it.
So you were behind the camera. You were on the business center.
Yeah.
You never wanted to be like the newscaster. You wanted to be running the show.
Well, I actually did. And I
Okay.
did a little bit of on-air stuff for Santa Monica, small station in Santa Monica. But then it's just like the timing. If you really want to be on camera, you've got to go to a small market.
Right.
And at the time I was married, we were kind of getting ready to start a family. And then I actually did get pregnant and it was just, yeah. So it just didn't happen. But I'm kind of glad because now the way the news went, I'm glad my life went the way it did.
Does news exist anymore? I'm not sure if it actually is out there.
Exactly.
Podcasts. Okay. So the news thing ends. And then how do we segue into dating? When does dating happen?
Oh, dating has happened all before that. Dating has been around for a long time in my life.
Okay. All right. Good enough.
Yeah,
but you were married for how long? Or you're still married?
No. I was married for over 20 years and it didn't work out. We're amicable. We're divorced and he's moved on. I moved on. So everything's, great. We have two amazing boys. They're 18 and 22. So it's fine. When
you met your husband, was it early college, high school, later?
No. So I dated a lot in my ever since 7th grade, I was boy crazy. So I dated a lot, had a lot of experience dating. And then, had some longer relationships, but nothing too long. And, I was a typical fickle young woman.
Right.
And then when we met, we just hit it off. We actually, and I never did this. We actually got fixed up on a blind date.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah. And
when was that? Was that in college? Were you a young adult? Where were you in life?
No. In my 20s. Yeah.
Okay.
I've already been dating for several years.
So you've been through the wars, right?
Oh, totally. I dated before the apps.
Okay.
Now that the apps are on. Yeah. So I've got a lot and I've had relationships. So I bring a lot to the table as far as my experience because I've been there all, long relationships, marriages, short relationships,
So let me ask you, so for another person who was in the Neanderthal days of dating, right? When we had to go to a bar.
Yeah.
And, as guys, we had to actually go up and talk to somebody and we had to beg for a number and we had to hope the number was actually real and all these other things. Is there anything from the old days of dating that still exists, that's still applicable today? Or is just everything completely changed?
Oh, there's things that are still applicable for sure. There's some antiquated notions that I think don't, thankfully,
like what? Like what? Give me some of the antiquated notions. Because I'm sure that most of them I use still to this day.
Like that book, The Rules,
Rules.
Don't call her for a few days. Don't answer him for this. Basically playing games.
Right.
Good quality people don't go for that these days.
Now, when The Rules came out, The Rules was a smash, insane #1 bestseller that every single woman on the planet bought, and most of them lived by. Did they work back then? Did they work for you?
I didn't really need the rules.
I love it. That's probably true. Okay, good enough. Good enough. I think a lot of people still do play games, though. I think games are I think that's one of the reasons why people hate dating so much.
Yeah. I mean, I was definitely guilty of playing certain things for sure, playing it cool, whatever. But right. I didn't, there were plenty of guys. There was never a dry spell for me at all.
No, that's nice. That's nice. No droughts. That's fantastic. So what was the segue between being some person who had been in relationships and dated to actually becoming a dating guru.
Well, when I had my son, I'm really a career girl, so it was a hard decision to leave CBS.
Yeah.
But I would have never seen him. It would have been like somebody I would have just, it would have been pointless because it was a really demanding job and it was a long commute. So I had him, but then I was kind of going crazy, like I have to use my brain. So I started writing. Well, I actually started that on camera stuff, and then I started writing for some websites and magazines. And then
What
like
were
the
you
internet.
writing about?
Oh, all kinds of things. I've always been very like wellness minded though. So a lot of it kind of became more wellness, eco-friendly living, clean beauty. So then I started my own website and blog and wrote a lot about that. So then I was really doing wellness coaching, wellness educating, clean beauty and eco-friendly living educating. That's what I did for a long time. And I liked it. It's just, then I started helping people with health and wellness and weight loss, which was great. But there was just something about it. I just felt like it wasn't really where I kind of wanted to be. But then it was really life coaching. So I got certifications because I realized that all of like wellness coaching, even weight loss, was all life coaching. It really comes down to
Well,
life.
isn't it always about getting a man or a woman, as the case may be? I mean, isn't that what we're all kind of searching for? I mean, honestly, when people are trying to lose
like
weight,
love, sex, money.
yeah,
you're
I mean,
right.
isn't that what wellness is about, and losing weight is about, and looking better is about, is really about attracting somebody of the opposite sex? I mean, isn't that really what it usually comes down to?
I mean, in a lot of ways,
I mean,
yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
when you were doing that, I mean, did you find you were kind of segueing into dating when you're talking to somebody, whether it's a man or a woman, talking about losing weight? I mean, wasn't there always a discussion of why are you losing weight?
Oh yeah,
Right?
definitely.
So
Yeah.
kind of dating, I would imagine, kind of intersected with a lot of the stuff you were doing at the time, right?
Exactly. And the nice thing is now that I have that background, part of my coaching is, we're marketing ourselves when we're dating. So you really have to look and your best. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I don't mean to be superficial at all, but you see there's a lot of competition out there. And look, there's a lid for every pot. And there's all kinds of different tastes. Just because somebody is beautiful or handsome doesn't mean that it's somebody else's type. And so it's very subjective. So it doesn't mean that you have to be a 10 or you have to look a certain way. But most people do want people that are taking care of themselves and looking their best. And
Okay, so you're in Southern California, right? And
yeah.
there's much more emphasis, I would assume, in Southern California on looks and attractiveness. Is it that much different? If you're in Iowa, if I'm in Ames, Iowa, do I worry about my looks as much as I do in LA?
Probably not.
Right? So when you're dealing with dating, and I haven't asked you, I haven't got to like who your clients are. Do you have clients all over the world, all over the country?
All over the country, yeah.
Right. So can we talk about that? Can we talk about the distinction between being a dating, what do you call yourself? Are you a dating coach? Are you, what are you?
Yeah, dating coach and matchmaker.
Matchmaker. Okay. So, I mean, if you're a dating coach and matchmaker in LA, it's got to be different than when you're talking to somebody in Kansas or Miami or New York City or any place, right?
Oh, definitely.
And so how do you deal with regional differences? Like, how do you know what's going on in South Carolina versus LA when you get a client out there?
Well, I mean, the fundamentals really are the same.
Okay.
Really. It's not that different. As far as your matches, the population and who you match with, those things do change. And yeah, I found there's certain cities where, it just is easier. It is like, I mean, most things are pretty much across the board, not going to be that different. So when people say, oh, it's too hard to date in my city, it's too hard to date in my city, that's not necessarily true. You can date in every city. But there are little differences, yeah. They're not that glaring.
Okay, so I'm going to free associate a little bit because I just kind of do that a little sometimes. And I was just talking about dating. It's always just so interesting, like these little things that people say, because I disagree with a lot of these things. Like when somebody says it's hard to date, okay? Like, again, just for me. Now, by the way, I'm in a relationship right now with somebody for 3 years. It's all fantastic. And I was married. I had a great marriage for 13 years like you. We kind of just were amicable, just dissolved and whatever. And I also have a lot of history of dating as well, good and bad on both sides. Like when you talk about it being hard to date, back in the Neanderthal days and today, I believe 99% of people just suck. and they're not right for you, and it's going to be horrible. And back in the 80s, when we met 10 people a year, 9.9 of them sucked and whatever. And now we're in 2024, you meet 100 a day through swiping, and 99 of them are going to suck. The ratios, I believe, are pretty much the same. So isn't that really the reality, is that most people suck for you? But why does that make it hard? It's just like, don't people know that 99% suck?
That you are saying exactly what you're right on target. Let me tell you. Because that's the problem is people have this, all these apps, all these people. So there should be so many more things. Well, think about, let's say we were walking around the mall or at Disneyland or anywhere. I mean, if you were single, would you really want to go talk to? How many men would I be like, he's catching my eye? We'd be lucky if there were one or two.
One out of 100, 99% suck.
Exactly. So that's how the apps are. And so, you have to just be realistic. Now, there are great people and there are perfect matches for you, but there's a low percentage, just like there are anywhere.
So let me ask you,
a lot of people are not dateable on the apps too, because they're not there for real reasons. They're not single. You got to weed through that thing.
Well, no, and I understand that. And look, a lot of people are not dateable, period, right? And I mean, they're obviously the whole catfishing thing and, the lying is obviously terrible. And that's what apps are a problem. But we also now know the internet. I mean, look, back in the 80s, you couldn't lie about yourself as much because I met you at, the bar on Friday night and you are who you are, right? And now it's obviously, but this is what I don't get about dating. Why don't people understand that? Why don't people say, you know what? I went on 10 dates and they all were terrible, but whatever. I know that I'm going to hate 99 out of 100 people. So who cares? Right?
No, that's what I'm trying to, that's my kind of mission, is to get people to be more realistic. Mm-hmm. And just more like, I love your attitude, like a little more relaxed about it. It's not like, oh my gosh, this one person, this could be the one, no, it's just, you're just meeting people, no expectations, and just go with the flow. And because when you place all these expectations and you grasp on too strong, what you resist persists. And it's like that desperation, and it will never work.
Yeah. No, I'm going to free associate later too, but we're going to go back to you for a second. Okay, so let's get into your segue to becoming an actual dating coach. So you're doing all this wellness coaching and you're writing blogs and a website. And we talked, you started to get more, you were talking about dating a lot. So what was the point where you said, you know what, I want to go into this other field, like this is where I'm going to do better? Sort
of as my marriage started dissolving and I was sort of, separated. And then of course my mind was, I'm going to start dating. It kind of was like a natural progression. And then when I was separated and divorced and on the dating scene, it just like, okay, now I'm in it. Then I was kind of focusing more on helping people, divorce people. But then I realized I really like helping all kinds of people date, not just divorced.
Right.
And then I started doing the matchmaking. And so it's like, now it's not more of a focus on helping divorced people, but it's just helping, whether you're divorced and, on that second, that second one, or you're just looking for your first marriage and kids and all that kind of stuff. That's, more my focus, especially with 3 Day Rule, the matchmaking company that I work for. They, a lot of my clients, I have clients that are 32, I have clients that are 61, so it's all that run the gamut. And then that's when I found I'm in my wheelhouse. Like that was like when things just clicked, when it was like dating and matchmaking. This is where.
So to me, dating coach and matchmaking are very, very different. I actually went to a matchmaker one time and I thought it was great. I mean, I thought it was really great, but it's like, it's a very different experience than coaching people through the apps and the experiences they're dealing with if they're not being matched with somebody.
It is. It's, I mean, the best of both worlds is both, if you're matchmaking and we're coaching.
Why'd you like matchmaking versus, or I'm sure you're doing both, but you said your sweet spot was really the matchmaking. Why did you like the matchmaking?
Matchmaking and the coaching is my sweet spot. Those two together. Yeah.
Got it.
As opposed to, just working. It's just, I like the funness of it. I mean, it can be very, I've had people crying. I mean, it's obviously very emotional, but it's also fun. And that's what I really like, to help people kind of just change their perspective, get that fresh perspective of dating and really transform things so they can have more fun with it and have more fun with their life and themselves. And really that's how you attract who you really want.
So I don't think most people use the adjective fun when they're describing dating.
I know.
So how do you inject fun into it? How do you teach people or show them how to have fun with dating? Like what's the process?
The first thing is really just not having expectations and
Mm.
looking at it as, especially when you're meeting on the apps, I mean, so you meet somebody in real life and then go on a date, it's a little bit different because at least you've met them. But even then, you don't know this person. You don't, and if it's on the app, you've never even met them. It's barely even a date. It's really a like, let's see if we even want to go on a
Yeah,
date.
let's see if you look like your pictures.
Yeah, and if we have the, that, our energies match and we have that vibe and the pheromones. And so to me, I just, these the younger, they call it like a vibe check, and it's like that's
Right.
what it is. And be open-minded to who you might meet and what it could be. Okay, maybe it's not a match as far as, okay, you want to keep dating, but you could find a really great friend. You could find some kind of like business collaboration. I mean, who knows? Or that person might have a sister, a cousin, a coworker. So to keep it, and just people are fun. I mean, people are nice. Like if just you're meeting it, just look at it as like I'm just going to have a nice time meeting a nice person. And then if it goes to the next level, great. And if not,
Right.
no hard
And
feelings.
here's another reason why I'm always interested by people who talk about how much they hate dating and why I love it so much. Like if I go out with somebody and I don't like them, like, so what? Like so I had dinner with somebody and if I don't like what they're saying, I'll just talk to myself for 2 hours. Like who cares? And I
Well,
don't
exactly.
right? And I don't
Exactly.
understand why people take it so seriously. Like every date has to be like perfect and he has to be chiseled out of marble and 6 feet and 6 figures and 6-pack and she's got to be right yeah, supermodel. I just don't get it. Like you meet, but you know what I hear the phrase I hate more than anything else. I don't want you to waste my time. Like
Oh,
this concept of wasting my time because you spend an hour, having dinner with somebody or you talk to them on the phone for 10 minutes is so ridiculous, isn't it?
it is because n- nothing's a waste of time. Because even like
Nothing's.
the quote unquote bad dates or the dates that they're not your type, you can still learn something.
Yes.
You can learn a million things, but you even can learn something more about what you want. Like, okay, there was something about that I actually like that. I think I want that in a guy or a woman. Or, but you know what? I'm not looking for you. It helps you more inform, get a little clarity on what you do and don't want, even. And it just, even if it's okay, let's say, okay, there are horrible dates out there. Let's face
Sure.
it.
I'm
At least
most of
come
them.
away with a funny story. I mean, I think that's the worst that can happen. But at the most part, most people are decent. You can at least have a good conversation.
I agree.
Like you said, you bring yourself to it. Because I remember I was on a date and the guy was kind of boring, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm just gonna be myself and
Yeah.
chat and whatever. And then it got better. He kind of brought him out of his shell too.
Look, I can tell you, I crack myself up for a good 60 to 70 minutes, no problem. Easy. So I can roll with it for a little while. I don't really care. So okay, so I'm going to guess most of the people who come in to talk to you are having issues, troubles with dating, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if they're doing well, they don't need you, right? So, and I'm going to guess because they're having because they're having problems, some of these things are kind of entering their mind. They're worried about wasting time. They're taking it too seriously. They're too freaked out. How do you change their perspective? Because my guess is that's most of what you do. It's not just about introducing them to somebody. It's teaching them how to be when they meet that person, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
let's talk about that. How do you do that? How do you take a person, whether it's a woman or man, because you deal with both women and men, right?
Yeah.
They come in and you have the first interview and they're all fucked up. And they say every buzzword I just said, and you just hate them, and you're just looking at them just going, why are you so stupid? And then, but you've got to change them because they're there and they're paying you, and you got to do something. So let's talk about what you do.
Well, I have to assess, and it's getting them to be curious and trying to help them also see their blind spots and their limiting beliefs.
Okay.
Because we tell ourselves stories, and I am a firm believer of what you put out in the world comes back, and what you believe will happen generally does. If you're going to tell these stories of, okay, all guys are players and blah 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 blah, no women are emotionally available these days, and then your brain's going to just look for that and prove. What I basically do is try, like, let's just you know clean slate and stop the stories and question if it's even true. It's not true. And then if you really kind of peel back the layers, people do understand. And then it takes time, a date, another date. I've watched my clients evolve hugely from like when they first come to me to, like a few months down the road. Some people renew, and it's just, they're a whole new person. It's like that guy dating back then and you now, it's completely different. And they're handling it so much better and understanding really how to make it a good experience and how to how to find somebody that they really want and how to kind of, it's hard to, you got to really take time to get, I mean, some people don't show their true colors for even more than several months, but
So I
that's,
imagine though it would be easier for you to do that when you're matchmaking because you know the person they're going out with. You say, okay, Susie, you're going out with Tom. You kind of know it. You know what's going on. And afterwards you can talk about it from a place of real
yeah,
understanding of the two people, right? Whereas if you're doing your dating coaching and they're on Bumble doing God knows what they're doing, swiping on God knows who know they're swiping, right? And they go off on a date that you're not really you don't know about. And then they come back all bummed out. Man, he wasted my time. Meh. Like, is it different for you in the two protocols, or is it kind of the same stuff?
I mean, it is different because yes, all of for my matchmaking clients, I meet via Zoom all of my potential matches, and we interview to make sure that it is a good enough fit. So it falls in line with their criteria, their must-haves, their deal breakers, and most of their nice to haves. And if I see their energies are a good match and that kind of thing, I can't guarantee. As matchmakers, we cannot guarantee attraction or that kind of thing, but at least I can pretty much they're going to at least have a nice time, a nice conversation
Right,
for the most
right.
part. So yes, so my clients that are out there in the wild, it is a little bit different, but at least I'm helping them gauge and you know, some people's their pickers are off. So we get to them to a point where they're choosing better people, breaking patterns and choosing better people.
Right. I was going to ask a question about that too. Like, so people's must-haves and nice-to-haves, do those change over time? I imagine on day one when they meet you, right? I need these 17 things. And then by the time you're on the fifth date, they're like, all right, I'll take this one and I'll be good with that.
Yeah, she's good enough.
Yeah, seriously. So do you watch the matchmaker shows, the Indian matchmaker and the Jewish matchmaker on Netflix and everything else?
I have not. I mean, I've watched Patty Stanger, the Millionaire Matchmaker. I
Oh,
haven't
yeah,
watched
yeah.
it in a while, but I remember thinking that she was hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So there's this Indian matchmaker, which was a very popular one, and then was followed by the Jewish matchmaker. And there's also, like you said, there's some other matchmaker shows on. And it is interesting to me because I watch all of them. I watch every dating show. Every dating show and every weight loss show, I watch every single one of them without fail. It's always fascinating to me how it's never about dating. It's never about dating. It's always about who they are and the way their brain is working and what they're looking for and their lives. And so I think of you as much more of like a psychologist, therapist, right, consultant than the dating. And that's, is that right? Am I accurate?
It really is. It absolutely is because it all starts with you, yourself, your life, how you're perceiving yourself, your life, how you're putting yourself out in the world. Yeah, that's why the life coaching is so just the most important thing in what I do.
So talk to me a little bit about the process. So let's just deal with the matchmaking for a second, because I'm a little more interested in that than, it's enough with the apps. God knows what's happening on the apps. Nobody wants to know. Where do you find women? Where do you find men? What's the process of just, you have to have, components to put together. Where do you
Yeah.
get them?
Well, we have a database of hundreds of thousands of people in our a free pool. So like anybody could sign up to be in our free pool. So we have clients that come to us and they paying clients. And then so those clients we really set those up, find out what they're looking for, the must-haves, the deal breakers, the nice to haves, and then we do the search in our database. Now, we do searching organically sometimes too. Like if, sometimes I was just at a club recently and I walked up to some guys and it's like, "Hey, I'm a matchmaker and I'm looking for some, good single people for my clients." And it's a good way if the guys are cute to get a date for myself too, but
Of course. Kelly, makes complete sense to me.
all
But
right.
again, I don't think you have much of a problem getting dates, is my guess. I don't know.
Aw, thank you.
So is
So
it as simple as checking the boxes? These are the 6 must-haves, and he's got 5 of them, and so I'm putting them together, or is there like a kind of a deeper,
Oh, it's deeper. But we do. So what for our clients, there's must-haves and deal breakers. We do make sure we will only match you with people that at least have that. Now, the nice to haves, we can't guarantee we're going to get as many as we can. But, because some of the must-haves are very important, like especially if, you want kids, you can't be with somebody that doesn't, or vice
right?
versa.
So is part of
Um,
your job also limiting the number of must-haves and deal breakers at the beginning? Like, do you really need that 6-pack, sister? Or does she really have to
oh,
be a Victoria's
definitely.
Secret model, Mr., right? I mean, does it?
Yeah, definitely. We try to get them to be realistic and yeah.
Okay. So you put them together, and then after the date, what's your job after the date?
Yeah, so we meet. So I invite matches via email, and if they're interested, then they'll book a meeting with me, and then we get on the phone, and then on Zoom, and then if I find they're a good match, they're a match, they go on a date, and then I get feedback from both.
Wait,
That's
what? I'm sorry to interrupt, but do they see each other before? And do you send them pictures or no?
Oh, they get pictures. Yeah,
They
yeah,
do
yeah.
get pictures.
There are some matchmaking companies that don't show pictures. I don't even know.
I don't know. That's ridiculous, isn't it? It's the most ridiculous thing. That's why I wanted to ask you, because I'm going to say that's fucking ridiculous if you don't show them a picture, right?
That's insane, right?
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, there's people that have worked for those matchmaking companies that come to us because they're like, it was awful. Yeah.
Because you're like pissed off. Like you walk in, you go, this isn't the person. I mean, how dare you? Anyway.
Yes.
Okay, so the date is over. Now what's your job?
So the date is over, and then I reach out to get feedback from both my client and the match. And
No, I understand that, but I'm saying, what's your job? Like, what do you really have to do to kind of create that? Because look, some people, maybe they hit it off on the first date and they're like, yeah, I'm going on date number 2. Some of them, I'm guessing most of them are like, well, it was good, but I'm not sure, blah, 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 blah. So how do you make sure that those people, if they're going to work, you're going to get them to that state?
Now, we recommend on the first date, if there's enough there, okay, maybe there's not sparks in chemistry, but we have seen so many stories with the slow burn. Sometimes that spark in chemistry, it fizzles out just as fast as it started. So if you enjoy each other enough, we always say go on a second date. It can never hurt. People are more relaxed, they're more familiar, and that we have so many stories of people who did not even want to go on a first date, or maybe not even a second date, and now they're married. So
right. And so when you're dealing with them, and they're objecting for whatever reason, he doesn't have the right job, or she doesn't have the right bra size, or God knows what the issue is. Like, how do you convince them? How do you talk through it with them? Like, have a conversation with me. I'm the guy, and I just said, you know what? She's all right, but Kelly, I really like somebody with bigger boobs, and her boobs weren't big enough.
Oh my God.
And so I'm not going to go out with a B cup. I'm not going to do it, and that's it. I mean, what would you do?
Well,
Billy, is that inappropriate? Am I being inappropriate now? No, but I mean, to me, this is the reason I'm bringing up this type of stuff, Kelly. Not to embarrass you, but to say, like, I think that people's expectations or the way they're looking at dating is so wrong-headed in so many different ways. And look, guys obviously are usually obsessed with looks, right? I'm not going to say what women are, because I'll be misogynistic, but I know what guys are all disgusting pigs. And so, but you have to break them down somehow. And like, again, as a matchmaker, as somebody they're going to you to try and help them, like, how do you get past those initial human emotions that they have and the biases and everything else to get them to understand that what they're looking for is probably not what they're going to find?
That can be tricky.
Right.
Because that can be tricky, but basically, I mean, certain things, we're going to be attracted to who we're attracted to, and there's certain things that we can't get past. So I try to follow in with that. I can't guarantee, he's going to be a 10, or she's going to have this or that and the other. And the other thing that I really try to impress upon people is you'd be surprised on who you would be attracted to. You might think you could never date somebody who was under 6 feet, and then you end up falling madly in love with somebody who's 5'9", and he's the greatest husband in the world. You might think that you need a certain body type in a woman, but then you're crazy attracted to somebody who maybe is the B cup or what have you. So you just never know. But certain things, if you're not attracted to certain things, you're not attracted to certain things. That, I mean, there are some fundamental things that you just can't push past. But for the most part, I just say to people, just be open-minded. Be open-minded and try it and just see. And a lot of times they're pleasantly surprised, and they end up going on several dates and even get to a relationship. Now, fortunately, we're pretty good at gauging who might get along and like each other.
Got it.
So I don't get a lot of pushback. And a lot of the times when I get the pushback, it's not so much as that blatant. It's more the stories in their head, the limiting beliefs they're telling themselves. And so we work through those things.
Well, I think the guys are embarrassed to say they only want B cups or more, I think that's why they're not telling you. Because trust me, guys are all pigs.
But I try to, especially with my men, I'm like, look, you can tell me anything, It's like,
Okay.
Tell me what you like, just whatever, it's like, don't, even though I'm a woman, it's not going to offend me. I need to know your type,
Right.
it's good to get pictures of exes,
Yeah.
ex people, people or people they find attractive on the apps or what have you. That always helps because, you know, I might, there have been women that I think are beautiful and the guys are like, eh. And then vice versa. I'm like, okay, well, I hope he thinks that she's attractive. And then, but maybe objectively, I'm not saying she's so, but then he likes her. You just never know.
Yeah. No, I
And
agree. Dating apps, are they worth it anymore? Should people use
oh,
them?
definitely. I think so for sure.
Why are
Um,
so many women and men, for that matter, deleting their apps and saying, "Fuck it, I'm done with it. I can't take it anymore"? What's happening out there that's so horrible?
well, it's a few reasons. First of all, it's like information overload. It's just it's so time consuming, and like we were saying, the ratios are so big that it makes you think there's nobody out there, when if you're just realistic in the population at large, there's really very few people that are going to be right for you. I mean, there's plenty of people, but like you were saying, so if people would just be a little more realistic and not let it overtake their life, like I recommend to clients, like 2 or 3 times a week, set aside 15, 20, maybe half an hour to do your swiping and to do your messages, and that's it. Not all day or every day. I think, to just, so it doesn't, and really be open when you're out and about, because I do think it's great to meet people in real life and really be open. And so then you're kind of covering all your bases. I mean, it's just like if you were looking for a job, you'd be getting referrals, you'd be on Indeed or LinkedIn, so, but you wouldn't rely on LinkedIn. So let's not rely on the apps, but have it as one of your tools.
Yeah, I think one of the big problems with apps is that it has become such a dopamine hit,
Yes.
and it gets so addictive. I mean, when somebody swipes, as like, look, guys, we all know, get a lot less women matching with them. Guys will match, like some guys just match all, yeah, they're 100%. They're all swipe right because that's their pigs, and women swipe right much less often, right? So guys don't get matches. But when you get that dopamine hit as a guy of getting a match, I don't care who she is, like you're into it and you kind of want it again. Now,
Yeah.
from the female side, I'm not exactly sure how it works. My guess is there's somewhat similar psychology of when something good happens, you just want it to happen again. And as part of your job, convincing people that you have to stop looking at it like a game and you need to look at it as a much more like measured, thoughtful process.
Definitely. And also not have this false sense of security, like that dopamine hit, like you don't even know them. They don't even know you. It's not, it's not the same as them coming up and talking to you. It's just not. And they're pictures. So it's like, it's just, you have to be realistic, but it's like, oh, this, that, and oh, she liked me, he liked me. And also just, swiping. Oh, like, it's just like a catalog. Like you're looking through a catalog and like, oh, shopping for men, shopping for women.
To me, it was a video game. It was the funnest video game I could ever play.
Yeah.
I'd wake up at 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I mean, I'm swiping in the morning before work with some eggs. Like I thought it was fun. I think, you know what? I think honestly, the reason why I like it so much is because I've never taken it seriously. I mean,
It's so good.
right?
Yes.
I mean, I took it seriously to the extent that I
No.
did want to meet somebody and I did want to have a relationship. I did want a connection, but like, it was never something that like, if this one doesn't work, it matters at all. Like, who
Right.
cares?
That is the exact mindset. Exactly.
So
It
why
is.
doesn't everybody think like me, Kelly? Why isn't everybody me? I don't understand.
I'm trying. And I've got this upcoming summit. It's called I Think I Found the One. And this is what I'm really trying to, is to help as many people think in that along those lines and have more fun with it.
Yeah.
They can have more success with it. I'm trying to change the narrative, but there's a lot of coaches out there that are trying to change the narrative for sure.
Yeah. Okay, give me
And
a
I
cool.
think the other reason it's men are so, because by and large, especially after a certain age, women can tend to take better care of themselves. Plus, we're doing our hair and makeup. So, it's like, whereas men are not, and men tend to not like know how to, we're always taking pictures, or friends are taking pictures where men are like, so I also have a free playbook to how to like get your dating app profile on point, because that is really important too.
Look, Kelly, my podcast is called Middle Age Mess. If you don't think
Well,
I
there you
know
go.
what a fucking disaster all guys who are middle age are, I mean, it's pathetic. And I also laugh at like the profiles I see, like, because my buddies coming to me because they know I've done okay in the apps the past. They're like, look at my and you look at these profiles, you're like, dude, with the fish. with the fish, man, and with the baseball cap and the glasses,
Yeah.
and the picture of you and your ex-girlfriend. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, how are you this dumb?
And really up close and from down here, it's like no one's gonna look good at that angle. Like, come on.
God, Kelly, they're all such losers. What are we gonna do? Okay, give me a good case study before we finish up here. Tell me some fantastic situation that you just pulled out of the trash and you turned into a blushing bride.
Oh boy. You like one of my kind of what I thought might be like a hard to match kind of situation.
Exactly. And then you killed it, and now they're, on their fourth kid or something along those lines.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've got a few hard to match stories, but one was especially because there were different dynamics. He was in his 30s.
I already know the story, but go ahead. Go ahead. I love it.
And, very nice, smart guy, but had never even been with a woman and was a
virgin. Had he ever kissed a woman?
No. And also a proclivity for cross-dressing.
Winner, chicken dinner. Okay.
Really great guy. I mean, very smart, very, but that was a challenge.
Yeah,
right?
that would be a challenge.
But I got him in a relationship.
And he's still in the relationship today?
No, I don't think they lasted, but I almost didn't want to because it was his first,
Right.
Even though he was in his 30s.
You're breaking the seal. You're breaking the seal. What kind of woman would you set a cross-dressing virgin, never kissed a girl guy up with? Like what was the profile of the woman you set him up with in general?
Well, I mean, open-minded and yeah, open-minded and very just like easygoing, non-judgmental. And, it's a younger demographic.
They're fluid. They're all fluid.
They're more fluid.
Yeah.
A little easier in that way.
Kelly, where do people find you? How do they locate you for your matchmaking and dating coaching?
So kellybonanno.com. Bonanno's a little tricky. KELLYBONANNO.
Just like the crime family. FYI.
That's right.
Okay.
And and I'm Kelly Bonanno on Instagram. I do a lot of reels with dating tips and that kind of stuff.
And what's the company? 3-Day Rule?
And 3-Day Rule is our matchmaking company. Yeah. So I can give you the link and people can sign up for free. And if they're interested in being a client, then definitely, they can book a call with me either for my coaching or matchmaking or both.
Wait, can I ask one last question though? I've heard of the 3-Date Rule. What is the 3-Day Rule?
So 3-Day Rule is sort of a play on that antiquated rule of, you wait 3 days to call him back or whatever. We advocate no games. And
that's why I think like a guy, right? A guy is the 3-date rule. If I don't have sex by the third date, we're done. That's the male version of that. Maybe I should do the male matchmaking site for 3-Date Rule.
And see, sex clouds things. You get that oxytocin and it can cloud things.
No, it does. But again, guys are pigs, even me. And it's just, that's who we are. You have to deal with us all the time.
How did you meet your girlfriend?
On an app.
Okay, great.
On Hinge. On Hinge.
Okay.
In fact, I'll tell you what. So I broke up with my previous girlfriend. It was like July of whatever, 3 some odd years ago. And then between July and November, I had 24 first dates. 24. And I was like cool with all of, they were all nice. Everybody was nice. And she was one of the 24. I said to her, it was going really well, our like third or fourth date. And it was kind of moving in that direction. Like it felt good. And I said to her, look, we went out on this date for 90 days. We are not going to be exclusive. I don't care who you date. I don't care who I date, but for 90 days, we're just going to hang out. It's all super nonchalant. And after 90 days, if we're still into each other, then we can talk about exclusivity and that's it. And I got to tell you, it took all the pressure off the relationship. All of it. Yeah, no, it was really good. And I continue to date other people, although, I started dating less and less because I was racking them up next to her. Like, you're not as good as her. You're not as good. I'd rather go with her. And I think she went out with a couple more guys too. But it just took all of the pressure of choosing off of us. And we just really enjoyed each other. And I think we got to date like 81 and we said, all right, fuck it. Let's go. We're good. And here we are.
I've heard of that notion, giving it 90 days and reassessing. And
because I honestly think that's what the biggest problem is the pressure. Is the pressure we put on ourselves, the pressure put on the other person, the disparity in pressure from the two different people. And when it's all gone, and like you said, you want to make it fun. For us, the 90 days became fun. As opposed to even dating, it was just fun. So if you want to steal that technique, Kelly, you can use it and give it to all your people.
Thank you.
Anyway, Kelly, it's been so fun talking to you today. I could do this over and over and over again. We can have 10 volumes of the Kelly Bonanno story.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much for having me on. This is so fun.
I appreciate your time too. Everybody go to www.kellybonanno, BONANNO.com, right? Or
Yes.
3dayrule.com. We'll also put up the link so you can sign up for her service free of charge. And we'll see you next time on Middle Age Mess. Thank you.